winter of 2002, I had a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The Olympics and Paralympics were in Salt Lake City, Utah, in my backyard, and I got to be a volunteer. The community prepared for years. They built freeways and buildings and venues. We volunteers trained for months, and the city looked gorgeous. They made huge murals on the skyscrapers. It was the most breathtaking sight I had ever seen. But the climax of all of the events, for me, was the opening ceremony's dress rehearsal, where I got some tickets to go and attend. It was amazing. There was costumes and choreography and beautiful music, and they had things all over the huge stadium. It was an astounding sight, and I loved it. However, I could not wait to get home, and it wasn't just because my nose hairs were freezing off. It was because I wanted to get home to my newborn daughter. No, my once-in-a-lifetime experience that winter was not being a part of the Olympics. It was becoming a mother. Fellow Tedsters, one of the most powerful things we can do to have a good impact on the world is to support the mothers in our world. Now, for those of you men and non-mothers, I don't want you to tune out and feel like this speech is not for you. In fact, it's more for you than for mothers. We need to be the support that mothers need so that they can be this powerful role for good in the world. We need help from community members, from educators, from employers, and spouses to help mothers be the strong impact for good that we need to change our world. I got a glimpse of this impact a few years before I was in the Olympics, as I served in Estonia. I was a missionary one time, and the next time that I went back to Estonia, I was a social work intern. My goal was to save the world. I wanted to serve and help and love as many people as I could. As I met with families and visited the schools and taught and intervened, I gave my all. I gave up my time and my money and my comfort to have a huge impact. And the more and more I worked, I saw that people soon ignored or even forgot the things that I was trying to teach them. Sometimes they even ignored and forgot me. And I started to recognize that I could come and go in all of this work that I was doing, and I wouldn't even be remembered. I started to even doubt my impact, and it felt rather fruitless. Then I thought about my little sister, who was across the world in the United States, getting married and having babies. And I knew that she was teaching her children. And the things that she taught and instilled into her children would never be forgotten. Could they momentarily ignore the things that she said to them? Oh, sure, we all know that. But they would never forget the things that she would influence them with. That was my first taste at the powerful impact of mothers in this world. Just a glance at your handout can help you know the impact that mothers can have in education. It's a stapled packet, and you will see there's been numerous research about parental involvement in education and how that can impact the world. And especially as we're looking at how the U.S. ranks in education around the world, we know this is something that we need to improve. However, when we look at our budget, we see that the Department of Education is spending billions, $3.3 billion, on teacher improvement, not parent improvement. Now, what if we took our time and efforts to do things like helping mothers turn off the TV for an hour each day and help their children with their schoolwork? That can have a more lasting impact than all of the teacher training and money poured into the education system. We need to recognize the powerful impact that mothers can have an education and support them in it. Employers need to be more flexible, educators need to be more accommodating, and spouses need to even be involved. When I was in the 4th grade, I was a pretty good student. I was a people pleaser, and I loved to make my teachers happy. However, I was also a procrastinator. So we have the people pleaser over here and the procrastinator over here, and they're tugging and pulling and sometimes battling. I had a social studies assignment due, and as the deadline for this assignment neared, these two entities inside me battled. As the battle erupted into war, the deadline approached, and I sought my mother for reinforcements. I didn't know what to do. She surveyed the situation, reviewed the assignment. She was a great leader, and we attacked the work shoulder to shoulder. Not only did we get the assignment done in time, but I got a great grade on it. My teacher held up my project in front of the whole class and talked about what a great job I did. I knew that it was a grand success. However, the most memorable part of that experience for me was not in the classroom. It was at 2 a.m. that morning. As my mother was up late, working side by side with me on my school assignment, I looked at the clock and was amazed at how late my mom was staying up. It was later than I had ever stayed up. And I knew for the first time in my life that my mother loved me. I don't know how I didn't recognize it before, being that I was about 9 years old, but I knew without a doubt, because of her actions, that she loved me. And we need to support the mothers in our lives so that they can have the time and effort to be involved in their children's education. My mother had graduated from college, but never really had a career. She spent her time raising 9 children. Now, there are some people who are on the conservative side that I feel have it a little off. It seems like they feel like, oh, motherhood is so important, that's what moms should do, or that's what women should do, but they don't see any investment made in the education, training, and nurturing of mothers in this important role. Then I see some liberal views on the other side that kind of feel like education is important and career is important, but motherhood sure is a waste of time. There's 2 stories that illustrate this to me. I have a friend who's an English professor. She went to a convention recently, and numerous people asked her, what's your job situation, or are you working? And she said, no, I haven't chosen to have a tenure-track position or to work full-time because I have 3 small children at home. Well, she got responses like blank stares, awkward silence, and weird faces. Then there's my sister, who, after graduating from college many years ago, has raised her children, and it's been 20 years since she graduated. She's had academics ask her, well, you graduated 20 years ago. What have you been doing all this time? Well, I want to say to them, she hasn't been sitting on the beach sipping lemonade. I feel like they see motherhood as a vacation from education and work, whereas it isn't that. It's an enrichment of education and employment to invest in motherhood. So if we as a community know and value the role of mothers and the work and experience that it is, we will support these mothers in whatever thing they decide to do with their time and whatever help they need. Mothers are vital in feeding their children academically, but also physically. You may wonder if this is an issue in the world today, especially in our country. Well, let's take a look. I don't see a lot of even the underprivileged children starving, but I do see that they are malnourished. Look at the obesity numbers for our country, and that's also in your handout. And you will see that our children are being fed, but they are not being nourished. The problem is our fast-paced lifestyle, processed foods, fast foods, and food without any real nourishment. Mm-hmm. Where are the mothers to say, here is some good healthy food to eat, and you better eat your vegetables? We need that. Now, most moms are probably like me. I hate cooking. And it's really frustrating to me that no matter how delicious or satisfying the last meal was, they're still hungry again a few hours later. So we need to support mothers in this part too. Numerous studies have shown the benefits of family mealtime together, as well as nourishing food. As you support mothers in your life, you will see the great impact for good you and they can have.